Okay, everybody, welcome to the Diamond Training. It's Marcus Schubert here from the Gold Coast. Tonight it's going to be a question and answer session, so it's going to go for about 30 minutes, unless, of course, we don't have any questions that you want to have covered, or it doesn't take that long. But for now, it's really open floor for you guys. I wish I could give you a prize for asking questions because, a lot of people sit back and think, oh, I've kind of got a question, but it's a bit silly, or maybe I don't want to waste your time with that. But the reality is, if you're thinking this, somebody else is thinking it as well. Somebody else needs to hear the answer, or maybe you kind of know the answer, or you think you do, but you just want to make sure, so it gives you the confidence to go forward and actually implement or take action in the way you were thinking already. So now's the time. If you've got a question about business, what's happening, what should you say if this happens, what would you do in this situation, what's happening in my team, this is really the chance for you to address that. So just type your questions in the question and answer slide, and then I can read that and I can address those for you. Okay, I don't see any questions at this stage, so I could probably answer all of those. Lisa, Jacinta, Marvi, Matt, and Kim, any questions you got, put them in, and I'll do my best to give you a great answer. Okay, so we've got one question here which says, I'm a week into the business. What's the best way I can introduce people for far away? Okay, so Lisa, I think what you're asking is if you've got contacts that live somewhere at a distance to you, what's the best way? For me, I like to build business in a sense where if I already have a relationship with somebody, it generally means I have some degree of trust. And when you have trust with somebody, you don't typically need to get together face to face to exchange information. So really what this person needs to do is they need to understand a little bit about Jeunesse, the company, the products, and the business, depending on what their point of interest is. So the best way for that person is you can just invite them to come on to a live webinar, which of course we run the live webinars every Monday night. So you could send them a link to register to listen in on one of the live webinars on a Monday night. If the time zone doesn't work for them, or if they can't attend a live webinar, then you can simply send them a video to have a look at. You can send them a recorded webinar for them to watch. And of course, if there is a local event happening in their local area, then of course you can send them along to a live event. But in either of those scenarios, the very first thing I would do would be to call them and have a conversation to engage their interest. So, whether that's calling them on the phone, whether you call them on Skype, or you call them through WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, that's the first thing I would do, is really to engage their interest and get their attention and give it that human touch. But then I would just be referring them to look at a video, a webinar, or a local event. So hopefully that answers your question. If there's something I haven't covered there with that, Lisa, let me know, and I will come back to that. So the next question is, everyone is asking about three-way phone calls. Marvi, that's an excellent topic. In fact, if I was going to deliver a topic tonight, I would have been talking all about three-way phone calls. But if you can maybe give me a little bit more specific, Marvi, just type in, what is it that they're asking about three-way phone calls? What is it about them that you would like me to cover? And I'll come back to that one. So Matt, you've got a question. Sapphire is a make or break rank. We will push through, but many don't. In your opinion, why? We are Sapphire, hence my question. You know what? Sapphire could be a make or break rank if you look at it that way. And I think one of the things about looking at Sapphire is that every rank before Sapphire you can actually achieve that rank based on your efforts only. In other words, you can go out and recruit people to become Jade. You can personally recruit people to get to Pearl. But to get to Sapphire, you need to then have a new skill set. It's no longer just the skill set of inviting people to see a presentation and then helping them make a decision to join and introducing them maybe to somebody, one of your business partners at a meeting or via a three-way phone call. You need to really develop that skill set of helping somebody that you've introduced to the business to actually get started. So you need to be able to help them to identify, well, why are they doing this business? And then you need to be able to help them to make their list. You need to be able to help them to find a way to invite their contacts in a comfortable way to looking at the presentation. So I think that's why Sapphire is often seen as you put it, a make or break rank, because it separates those people who can just go and do something themselves to actually having that skill set to be able to help somebody else do those same activities. So it becomes more of a teaching and training business versus just doing it yourself. I think the other reality is that, a lot of people, we lose people along the way because people haven't come in with the right mindset. They haven't come in with the mindset that they're going to be here a year from now. A lot of people quit the business mentally within, 3 months. And, that's their choice and their decision, but it also should be part of our process when we're getting new people started, is saying, listen, you're not necessarily going to be a genius at this business immediately. You're going to have some people who reject you. You're going to find yourself getting frustrated. You're going to find some people, are going to be annoying to deal with. And these are all things that we need to learn to overcome and get familiar with if we are going to be successful in this business. So Sapphire really does separate those people who are, just going to try and give it a go from those people who are actually going to do it. So, hopefully, Matt, that answers your question. If there's something I haven't addressed that you would like me to, just type that in as well. Okay, so Marvi, your question about the three-way phone calls is how often do I use it? Listen, I think three-way phone calls, you should be using them as often as humanly possible. I think for me, the health of a business, the real barometer is how many three-way phone calls are you doing? And that can be, how many are you receiving from your team members and how many are you doing with your upline and your coach and mentors? Because ultimately, our job is to help people to make decisions. The first decision is, do they want to see some information about our product or our business? So that's the first decision we're helping somebody to make. After they've seen that information, well, then our job is to connect that person to a third party. So unless we're connecting that person physically to somebody in a coffee shop meeting or in a hotel meeting, that needs to be done by a three-way phone call. Because the new person, if they're thinking about this business, ideally they need to see a process that they feel like they can do, whether they are a salesperson, whether they're a product expert, or whether they're busy. And the best way to do that is just to show them the business is simple. And how simple, or how much more simple could it be for us to be saying, watch this, now talk to this person. Watch this video, now talk to him or her. Watch this meeting, now talk to him or her. So if we're connecting our prospects through to a third party, it shows them that they don't need to be the expert. They don't need to be a salesperson. They don't need to have lots of time on their hands. And it really goes back to the first question also that Lisa asked, which is, what do I do if somebody I want to talk to lives a long way from me? Well, that's perfect, because you're now showing them a business process that is not limited by geography. If you can just connect them to somebody who lives in a different place, they can think, well, I can do that with my guests, my prospects. I can connect them to you over the phone, over WhatsApp, over Skype. And, that really is why three-way calls are so important. It's also important to not be scared to tell the prospect why the three-way phone call is so important. Some distributors tend to have a challenge at getting their prospects to actually jump on a three-way phone call. And the reason that is because the prospect is thinking, well, I don't want to talk to this third person who's going to try and convince me to buy a product and twist my arm to join the business. They feel like they're going to be pressured. So you need to explain to them, well, this is not necessarily a closing call. This is to get your questions answered. This is to have you hear somebody else's story who's more successful in the business. And it's also to show you the process that you would be using if you were to get involved in the business. And really the only way for you to understand this process is for you to go through it yourself so you can actually see and experience the job description. So three-way phone calls are really important. And it's not just for prospects. Once somebody's joined the team, then, give them a phone call, set them up to introduce them to your coach or to your upline so they can, have a welcome to the team, and now they get introduced to somebody else and hearing another successful story. They're feeling connected to other personalities within the business. And, don't just stop at one, do 2, 3, 4, introduce them to, some of the key people in the business that have a vested interest to help them. And then they get to see that they're actually part of a team and they've got not just you, but multiple other people that they can lean on for support as they build their business. So, three-way phone calls are also just for your team members. If you need some support in talking about a certain topic or a challenge the person's having, or maybe they're just feeling a bit down and a bit flat, say, hey, well, why don't we, talk to this person or that person and see what they think. So you'll also find three-way phone calls can be beneficial with people that are in your team, but maybe you're just a bit too close to them, or you talk to them all the time so that your impact is being diluted. Sometimes people in your team need to hear the same thing from a different person. It needs to come from somebody that's not you. So three-way phone calls, it's a tool to help us to build our business, but they're absolutely vital. If you're not doing them or you're avoiding doing them, you need to get over that, because you are holding yourself and your team back if you're not doing those three-way phone calls. Okay, Kim, you've got a question. When someone asks you, what do you do? What is my response, or what do I say? And that's an excellent question. Kim, it depends on the situation. If I'm in a situation where I've just met somebody and they say, what do I do? The first thing I think about is I don't really want them to say, wow, that sounds fantastic, can I join your business? So there's a couple of ways you can approach this. The first way is I might just say, listen, I've got a marketing business, because I really want to ask them questions. I want to answer their question, but ultimately I want to ask them about what they do and find out about them, because in doing that, number one, I'm gaining rapport, I'm in control of the conversation, and I can hopefully identify whether or not this is a type of person I would like to work with. Through my questions, I can identify, do they have a need or a desire for something different in their life, whether that's more time, more money. Do they like what they do? Maybe there's something in their life they hate and they want to get away from it, and potentially, the product or the business can help them with that. So that's one way to answer. When someone asks me, what do? I say, I've got a marketing business. And if they say, what's it in? I say, it's in, skincare and in the wellness industry. But, with that type of an answer, I'm not trying to generate interest in what I'm doing. I'm wanting to actually get on to asking them questions about themselves and what they do. So that's one way I approach it. Another way I answer that question is I just tell them the truth. I say, listen, I've got a really big network marketing business, and just see what they respond with. So, that's the two ways that I answer that question for myself. Next question. What's my process? Marvi, I'm assuming you're meaning around the three-way phone call. My process, and again, that depends on at what stage, but if I'm actually on the three-way phone call, say, for example, Marvi, you are, let's say you're my coach. Let's say I'm the distributor, and I'm introducing my prospect to you. So the process on that three-way phone call would be my job as the distributor, contacting my prospect or connecting them to you would be, I need to edify you, I need to edify the prospect in a very short and concise way, so both people feel that they're being positioned well, and then it's to hand the call over to you as the expert. Okay, so an example of that would be, I might say, hey, Fred, I've got my business partner, Marvi, on the line. Marvi's very successful in this business. She's been in the business now for 5 years. She's a rising star, moving through the ranks. And, I really wanted to introduce you to Marvi because she's going to be able to help answer any questions you may have. And certainly if you decide this business is for you, she's going to be able to help you be successful in the business as well. Now, Marvi, let me introduce you to my friend, Fred. Fred and I, we know each other. We used to go to school together. Fred works as an accountant. He's been very successful in his job, but, he works a lot of hours. So he was interested in looking at the Jeunesse business to see whether or not this might be something that can help him to create an additional income and maybe over time help him to create a little bit more time freedom for himself, because actually what he really loves to do is to fly drones, and he wants to be able to do that and take this amazing footage around the world. So with that, I'll hand the call over to you guys. So once I've done the introduction and edified both parties in a really short, concise manner, that's when my job is to hand the phone call over, and I will not speak. I'll put my phone on mute, I'll take notes, and I will only talk if Marvi asks me to add something within that conversation. It's one of the biggest challenges you'll find on a three-way phone call is if the distributor keeps jumping in and wanting to add bits of information. And normally they're doing that because they think it's helping, and it's adding to their prospect's excitement, or it's helping to answer the question. But all it's really doing is taking the conversation off track. And that's the last thing you want to have happen. You want to just sit there, because also you want the prospect to see that you're sitting in the training seat. You're listening and learning, and that's really can be pointed out later in the call that, hey, Marcus is sitting there in the training seat at the moment. He is listening and learning, getting on-the-job training while I'm talking. And that's what you can be doing with your guests after they've seen a presentation. You can be listening to them, listening on the phone calls and learning from people who are successful. So hopefully that helps you to answer the question about the process, Marvi. Next question is, when do you personally enroll people, put on three-way phone calls, and how do you bring it up with your prospect? How do your prospects respond? Are they open to it? Yeah, I think when I'm talking to a prospect, I'm letting them know right from the beginning what the process will be in evaluating the business. So if Marvi, you were my prospect, I would have already asked you, hey, are you open to evaluating a home-based business? And if you say yes, I'll say, listen, Marvi, what I'm going to do is I'd like to send you through a short presentation to watch, or maybe I'd like to get you to come onto the webinar we have on Monday night so you can have a good look and see what our company, product, and business is all about. And then after that, I'm sure you're most likely going to have some questions. So that's when I'd like to schedule a phone call for you to have a quick chat to my business partner so that you can see the process we use. They can help answer any questions you may have. And also, I'd just love to introduce you guys. I've told them a little bit about you already, and they're really looking forward to meeting you. All right, so I've already identified up front what the process is going to be. We need to look at ourselves as a tour guide. Our job is to guide people from one step to the next. And if you were jumping on a tour, that's exactly what the tour guide would be saying. Okay, guys, we're going to go here, 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 and here. And if you love it, you can stay on the bus and you can go to the next stage. Or if you've had enough, you can get off the bus. All right, so that's how I set up the three-way phone calls. I want to introduce them to my business partner, and I position that's a benefit to them. It's not a favor or something they agree to. It's just something I tell them we're going to do, and it's going to be a benefit to help them with their business evaluation. Okay, so Matt. Brilliant. Thanks, Marcus. Amber and I are lucky to do this together, keep each other motivated. Different skill sets to make it work. You're a face-to-face person. Amber kicks ass on social media. How much is too much on social media? Listen, it depends what content you're putting out there. And, people have different styles, but for me personally, if you go to my Facebook, I very rarely talk about Jeunesse or our products. For me, I believe in giving value, and if people see you as somebody who's giving value and you're contributing to their life and they like you, your personality, your style, then they're going to be more interested in what it is we do and and maybe how we can help them. So, I don't think this, for me, I probably post anywhere from 1 to 3 times a day, but you'll notice that I'm not posting about Jeunesse, because if we're talking about our business and our product all the time, people see it as too salesy. We're trying to sell them something. We're trying to take money from them or trying to get them into something. So for me, that's, my style. And you'll see a lot of the leaders doing it that way. But, once you build interaction and you build an audience, then when you do have something important to say about, something going on in your business or a great result you've seen with our products, whether it be you or somebody that you're dealing with, you've already got an audience that's watching, because if you think about posting about our products or our business like a commercial on TV, if that's all we do, if you flicked onto a TV station and there's just commercial after commercial after commercial, well, pretty quickly people are going to go, listen, this is just people trying to sell me something. They're going to switch off. So then when you actually have something important to say, they're not going to see it because they've already switched over to another channel, which is giving them content that they enjoy. So hopefully that answers your question about social media. But of course, I could do a whole training about social media and that type of thing. And there are other great trainings out there about social media. So here's another question from Kim. If someone asks, is this a sell from home type business, commission based? I say, yeah, absolutely. That's what I love about it. I can work from home. I'm not stuck in traffic. And the fact that it's commission based is fantastic, because then I know I can get paid what I'm worth. And ultimately that's the way a lot of businesses are going now. Even jobs, people who used to get paid, $100,000 a year as a salary, nowadays a lot of companies are saying, well, listen, we're not going to pay you that $100,000 anymore. We're going to pay you $70,000, but you can make the extra $30,000 or more if you reach your performance-based criteria or the KPIs we put in place. And you know what? If you perform, you'll get paid what you used to. If you don't, you won't. And if you perform even more, maybe you can make more than the $100,000. But if someone asks me, is it a home-based business? Yes, absolutely. Is it commission-based? Yes, absolutely. That's the answer. It's like somebody saying, is it network marketing? Yes, absolutely. Okay, great. Okay, what social media platform do I recommend to finding prospects, whether it be Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, the list goes on, or do I meet prospects offline? Okay, that's a great question, Marvi. So, I think you've got to choose to be good at least one social media platform. I think it takes too much time and effort and knowledge to be good at all of them. So for me, I've chosen Facebook. I know other people prefer Instagram. Some people prefer LinkedIn. So, I really think that you want to become good at least one of these first. So pick the one that kind of resonates with you and that you want to focus on. And, there are different methods to going out and connecting with different people on social media. But, I think the reality is social media for me is a way to connect with new people. And, because I use Facebook, I suppose that's an ongoing business card for me where people are gathering and starting to form an impression of who I am, what I do, what my personality is, what value I'm giving. So over time, that is doing work for me where people are gaining trust and kind of building rapport, even though we may not be speaking. But at the point when I start communicating with that person, maybe through private message, once I've identified that, hey, this is a quality person, I'm going to look for a reason to take that conversation offline. And initially that could be a phone call where I just have a conversation with them to find out a bit more about them, or if they're local, I might decide, hey, why don't we get together and have a coffee and a chat? And, that's just building that relationship, building the rapport. But I'm not going in with the agenda to recruit that person. I'm really going in with the agenda to find out more about them, to see if we like each other. And in finding out more about them, I can find whether or not a network marketing business would be of benefit or help to that person, or whether my products could be of interest to that person. But, that's kind of how I see it. I see social media as a way to connect with people, how to develop the relationship over time. But, as soon as I really want to move it into business, that's when I'll get on the phone, or I will arrange to meet with them in person to really strengthen that relationship and the trust as well. So hopefully that answers your questions. But I do know, Marvi, that there is a specific training going to be happening on LinkedIn on the Thursday before the conference in Sydney from 4 till 7 p.m. So that's Thursday the 23rd. Okay, Kim, if I connect with someone online and they throw their business pitch at you, what's your reply? It's a good question. It's easy to react to someone just spamming you and kind of not appreciating it. But I think at the same time, it's a bit of an opportunity for us to realize that they're probably not a professional network marketer. If someone just pitches you blindly or really early in the communication, they're either not successful in network marketing or they haven't really been taught the right skills. So I think the first thing we need to think about is, how do we help that person to like us? If we go back and go, hey, I didn't even ask about your business or your product, so what are you doing sending through links? That's really unprofessional, just spamming me. Well, that sort of response isn't going to have that person warm to us and to like us. So I think the first thing is to try to find some common ground and say, listen, thanks very much for sharing. Obviously, you're in the network marketing industry. I love network marketing. I love connecting with other people who are entrepreneurial, people who are out there fighting for their dreams. I'd love to have a chat sometime and find out how it's going for you. I've found that, there's some things I've learned along the way that have helped me to actually gain more interest in my business that I might be able to share with you. So see if you can give value, because even if you take that conversation offline and have a conversation with that person and you generate the relationship, very quickly they're going to see that you're somebody who's adding value to them and you're positioning yourself as a leader. So whether it be then or a year down the track when something happens in their business, then they might be able to come back to you and join you. So I think you have to see it as a long-term strategy. Some people, might decide to want to see what you're doing very quickly, and others, it might be a year or 2 years down the track. But I think the key is to say that you're really positive about the industry, make them feel good about what they're doing. You don't have to attack how they're doing it, but you can then, once you've got the conversation open, they're going to be more open to hearing whatever it is you've got to say down the track a little bit. Renee, question: 3 years in and you're stuck. My warm market is all follow-up. How do you keep your contact list growing with success of yes to join? Okay, so Renee, I think the first thing is the best thing we can do is keep growing ourselves. All right, so there's definitely things we can do to look at how do I go and find more people, and whether that be social media strategies, whether it be attending networking events, buying business leads online. They're all things we can do to meet new people. But the reality is, if we've kind of gone through all of our warm market, we've been doing this for a year, 2 years, 3 years, it may suggest that we haven't really connected with people in an impactful way. So that isn't necessarily, it's not necessarily a great idea to go, well, let's just go and do the same thing to another 100, 200, 500 people because we're going to get the same result. So this is really empowering for us to learn this, because when we say different things to people, we can get different results because it is a skills-based business. So what I would be doing before working out, well, how do I go and find new people, is I would be looking at, well, where am I lacking in my skill set? In other words, if my skill set was at a different level when I first started, would I have had a different result or response from the people I've spoken to so far? And if the answer is yes, that's really exciting. We can go ahead and we can go and attend some skills workshops, whether it be generic workshops, whether it be reading a book or attending an online webinar or coming to the conference. Because when we raise our skill set and also raise our level of belief, then it could be the same people we talk to respond differently, or at least when we meet new people, they're going to respond hopefully differently to what the past contacts have done as well. So, I think that's really the key, is how do I become a higher level network marketer, and how do I become more an attractive person for people to want to know and do business with? That's really going to be the key, because when we start vibrating at that different level, all of a sudden our activity levels step up and the rhythm of our business steps up. The activity level steps up, because if we're feeling down and flat, it is very hard to reach out and be proactive at contacting people or following up. Or even when we're out and about, we kind of don't even feel like talking to people because we're feeling flat. So the first thing to do is get the energy up. So when we learn something new, we feel empowered, we feel excited, we feel like, hey, this is probably going to work. So, we need to focus on getting our energy and our skill set and our belief level up first, because at least then when we go out and we attend a networking event, we're going to have better posture and we're not going to seem desperate. We're going to ask better questions. When we start buying, if we buy leads, you're going to be in control of the conversation because you know what questions to ask and how to answer the questions that come up when you're dealing with leads. So that's given you a little bit, but again, that's a great question. But I think, focus on yourself and your skill set and your mindset first, and then move into some of those other avenues to create extra leads for your business. Okay, now I think I've addressed all of the questions so far. We've just gone on the half an hour, so if there's any last questions, quickly type them in. If not, we'll wrap it up. Some excellent questions there. Hopefully it's been of some value to you guys. Of course, we have the Noosa Leadership Retreat coming up for those of you who are going to be there. Looking forward to seeing you guys and learning from you and sharing some ideas and experiences. Number one priority for everybody right now is attending the Sydney conference, 24th and 25th of March. And of course, looking to have as many of your team members attend that conference as possible. That's the most important event for this year for people in Australia and New Zealand. So hopefully you guys are doing everything possible to not only be there, but have your team members there. And thanks very much for coming online. We wouldn't have been able to have this training without your questions. So thanks, guys, for those questions, and look forward to seeing you guys very, very soon.